Okay, so now that we know what a camera obscura is, let's talk about how it relates to cameras. So, a camera is basically a camera obscura, but with light-sensitive material inside that captures the image being projected. And the very simplest type of camera is a pinhole camera. It is exactly what it sounds like. It's a camera obscura with a little hole, a pinhole, that is letting the light in. So, for example, this image right over here, this is an X-ray of a box camera, which we will be using later this semester. But you can see that basically there is a lens here, there's an opening, and then the film goes in back here. It's just a camera obscura with film with a light-sensitive material to capture the image. And if you're interested in more of these X-ray photos, I think these are really just fascinating to see all the different ones. I did include an optional link there for you guys. Okay, so let's talk about pinhole aesthetics. Pinholes have a very specific look to them, and there's a couple of things that you can pretty much always guarantee when you're shooting a pinhole photo. So take a moment and let's look at this image. And what do you notice? So two big things that stick out with pinhole cameras is one, the angle of view, and two, the shutter speed. So the angle of view refers to what type of view you get from a specific lens. With pinhole cameras, we're always pretty much going to get this wide angle lens view. Now there are some specialty pinhole cameras that might have a lens that's different and such, but this is pretty much it. You get this wide angle of view. The other thing you may notice is that all of the people, you can see that there is movement going on, and this movement is caused by having a long shutter speed or a long exposure time. So with these, a lot of times with pinhole cameras, we're using photographic paper instead of film. And so this makes it so that you do have to give it a longer amount of time with light hitting it. And so any kind of movement is going to have motion blur. Okay, so, pinhole photography is definitely still a thing. You go to any social media site or search engine and put in pinhole photography or hashtag pinhole photography, and you'll see that people love shooting pinhole, and they're still doing it to this day. So another little optional thing I included here was we had a speaker, someone from the coast who still works with pinhole photography, and she gave a talk at Spectrum Art Gallery here in Fresno. So this is a video about Martha Casanave and her work and how she goes about it. And you can see here she has this tank. She created her very own underwater, or well, somewhat underwater pinhole camera. So if you have some time and are interested, check it out. All right, so pinhole cameras. Now, this is one version of a pinhole camera. You can see that we have a hole here, and then this is where you would put your photo paper or film. Now, pinhole cameras can be bought still. There are some companies that even make pinhole lenses for specific cameras. But you can make your own pinhole camera. It's actually pretty easy, and I'll be giving you guys a handout on how to do this. Now, the pinhole cameras we're going to be shooting with today are paint cans. Paint cans with a small hole and a piece of cardboard as the shutter. So instead of film, we will be using photo paper. Now, the good thing about using photo paper is that we can load the paper with a safe light on. If we were using film, we'd have to be in complete darkness to load. Now, the downside is that photo paper isn't as light sensitive as film, so depending on the light conditions that we're shooting in, a good exposure could take several seconds to several hours. So for example, on a bright sunny day, we're probably looking at about a 20-second exposure, but on a cloudy day or indoors, you may have to go for a couple hours, and you're not really going to know unless you test it out. So let's hope for a good sunny day. So for our lab time, we will be looking for a sunny place, and we're going to start with an exposure of 20 seconds. We're going to then develop it in the darkroom and then adjust the exposure from there. And once we figured out a good exposure, then all of you are going to go out and create your own pinhole photos using a pinhole camera. Now, before you go shoot, let's talk a little bit about what you can expect. So you're going to notice that your print will be a negative. And that means that the light areas of the scene will be dark and the dark areas will be light. So this is because the areas that receive more light are going to turn darker. And well, let's take a look real quick at this example back here. Okay, so this would be the image directly from the pinhole camera. We're working with this light sensitive material, and as you saw from the video earlier about, the chemical issues, the different experiments that had to do with finding chemistry that was light sensitive, the things that are light sensitive turn darker when light hits them. So with our photographic paper, everywhere that the light is hitting has turned darker, and the areas that are lightest have the least amount of light coming from it. When you then print that, and we'll be printing these later on in the semester as a positive, you can see that it is now correct. The tones are now correct, where the light areas are light and the dark areas are dark.